Alright, today we're going to talk about long division of polynomials. In order to do this, let's remind ourselves of how long division actually really works. So remember, we take the denominator, 12, we put on the outside of our little boxy thing, and we write the numerator inside of it. So again, we think about, can we make 12 turn into 2 by multiplication? We can't, so we skip over a number. Can we make 12 turn it into a 27 by multiplication? Well, we can't get exactly, but we can get pretty close. 2 times 12 is 24. And then what do we do with these two numbers is we subtract them. And we get 3. After we find out what the subtraction is, we bring down the next number. Can we make 12 turn into 35 by multiplication? No, but we can get close. Another 2 is going to do 24. Don't forget that we are subtracting. And so this gives us 11. Bring down the next number. Okay, can 12 turn into 110? No, but again it can get pretty close. Times it by 9. 12 times 9 is 108. And do our last subtraction. We get 2. Now remember, this remainder at the very end needs to come up here to the top. We write as a fraction using our original denominator of 12. This can be reduced, so we write our final answer as 229 and 1/6. So a few things to notice. We always have a number we bring down every single time, the 5, the 0, and so on. We can have with remainders. Whenever you have a remainder, we turn them into a fraction. All these same rules apply when we're doing polynomials. So let's take a look at this first problem. We start by knowing which one's the numerator and which one's the denominator. X cubed minus 4x squared plus 3x plus 2 is our numerator, so let's write that down inside the box. And our x plus 2 stays outside. So we are going to try to figure out how to multiply the x by something to turn into that x cubed. And so the number, or the variable we still want to use is x. Now right now x times x is x squared. So if we put this as a squared, then x squared times x is going to give me x cubed. And then we have to make sure we multiply both these. It's like distribution. X squared times 2 is going to be 2x squared. Now whatever you get here, you need to make sure you do the opposites of. So instead of x cubed, we have negative x cubed. Instead of 2x squared, we have negative 2x squared. So let's go ahead and combine these. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6x squared. And now it's time to bring down the 3x. Notice I did not do anything with the x cubes because these two guys cancel each other out. Now I have to think, how can I make the x turn into that negative 6x squared? Well, multiplying by an x will make the x into a square. Multiplied by negative 6 will give you the negative 6. So a negative 6x times x is negative 6x squared. Negative 6x times 2 is negative 12x. Don't forget to, at this point, to make sure you do the opposites. So instead of negative 6x, we got plus. Instead of negative 12, we have plus. These two are canceling each other out, and 12 plus 3 is 15x. Time to bring the last number down, 2. Okay, how are we going to make this x turn into that 15? Well, by timesing by 15. So we need to plus plus 15. 15 times x is 15x, and 15 times 2 is 30. Now it's time to switch all the signs. Now it's a negative 15, and now it's a negative 30. So we are left with negative 28. Now this is our remainder. Okay, so we need to make sure when we write our final answer, we use the remainder. So what did I end up on top of our box, our long division, is an x squared minus 6x plus 15. And now we write our remainder. It was a negative 28, and we put it over our original denominator, the thing that we're dividing by, which is x plus 2. And this is your answer. This works even when we have something a little more complicated in the denominator, such as x squared minus 1. So let's go ahead and set this up again. We put the denominator outside the box and put the numerator inside. Okay, now it's time to ask ourselves, how can we make x squared turn into a 5x to the 5th power? Well, we need the 5, and we have a square, and we need to get to a 5, so we need to give it 3 more. So that gives us our 5x to the 5th power, because we're multiplying here. But then don't forget to multiply also right here. So 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 with our x cubed. Don't forget to change all the signs. Now this is a negative, now this is a positive. These two are canceling out. Now we end up with a little bit of a problem here. We see right now that on the 2 is an x squared, but on the 5 is an x cubed. These are not like terms. We do not want to do negative 2 plus 5. They do not have the same exponents. So because of this, we have to bring them both down. Now it's time to bring down the next number, negative 2x. So now, how can I make this x cubed, x squared turn into the 5x cubed? Well, we're going to definitely need another 5. And how we get the square into 3, power 2 to the 3 is give it one more power, power 1. So this will give me my 5x cubed I want, and then 5x times negative 1 is negative 5x. Now it's time to switch all those signs. That becomes a negative, that becomes a positive, and time to start combining. These two make 0, they cancel out. Negative 2x squared, there's no x squared on the bottom portion, so let's bring him down. And negative 2x and positive 5x do combine into 3x. Now it's time to bring down our next number. Okay, how can we make our x squared into a negative 2x squared? Well, that's pretty straightforward. Just a negative 2 times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times positive 1, negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Switch all the signs. So now this is plus, now this is minus, and let's start combining. These two make 0. 3x has no x's on the bottom portion to combine with, so we bring them down. And 1 and negative 2 make negative 1. Is there any way we can make our x squared turn into 3x? No. Well, the x squared has a power of 3, the 3x has a power of 1, so we are actually done there. This is our remainder. So let's write our final answer. Here is the information I got from the top. And now it's time to write our remainder over our denominator. Don't forget to put your plus sign. And this will be your final answer. Alright, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment, and I'll get back to you, and I'll see you in class.